Carboraider is having connectivity issues.
Okay, I'm getting a picture now on YouTube.
There we go then. Good. Carboraider is having connectivity issues.
Please check another application. So let's see, we did get an error message. Oh.
You need to turn down your YouTube, Gary, because it's delayed by a few seconds.
Use headphones. Oh yeah, after me.
Well, this is going well, isn't it, boys and girls?
How does it look?
That looks all right at the moment, Gary.
Is this? It looks right?
Yeah, it looks okay here.
Yeah.
Purely on the Jitsi system.
Okay. Okay, we'll start now.
Good idea.
I guess so. Okay, I have a few things written down I want to discuss that we'll go through.
Sure.
All right. Warm-up topic. Talk about the weather.
Okay.
But you're in the southern hemisphere, so you're not getting that polar vortex, are you?
No, we've got high summer right now, Gary. It's really hot. It's like 30 degrees C. We've had no rain in months. Everything's brown. Last week we had a lot of uncontrolled bushfires around where I live. The sea temperature, I live about 200 meters from the sea and I like to go swimming every day. The sea temperature is up around 20 degrees C. It's incredible. Yeah.
And have you been following the weather up north?
Not
polar vortex?
Not really, but I'm told it's pretty chilly up there.
Yeah. I was looking for your scientific opinion on the polar vortex.
All right.
Anything about that?
Not a great deal, to be fair, Gary. I know enough about some of the basic physics to tell you pretty much how the thing is thought to be set up, how it's thought to run. But certainly that's not an area that I would remotely call myself an expert in.
All right. See, I'm just checking my comments again here. Okay. So let's see. There's been a lot of snow up here and a lot of cold temperatures. And then some people say that global warming's not happening. You have an opinion on global warming?
The opinions I hold on climate change are that the climate is indeed changing, as it always has done and as it will continue to do into the future, as long as this planet exists. The theory that there is an anthropogenic carbon dioxide and or methane driven warming of our atmosphere is nonsensical in the extreme, in my opinion. It doesn't hold up to even the most basic scrutiny. It's an idea that's been put forward. It's an idea that's got some support, but it's not an idea that actually has much science behind it.
Can you explain where there's no science to it? I thought they had science.
Yeah, what they have is a thing called pseudoscience, Gary. What they have is some studies that are what are called in silico. They have computer-generated models that suggest if we do this, then the output is that. The issue, obviously, is we can't experiment with something as complex as our environment, as our planetary temperature, I guess. It's too big. We can't control it. There are too many degrees of freedom. We can't do an experiment. Therefore, we have to rely on guesswork. They call it educated guesswork, and fine, they can call it that if they like. One of the issues that comes up first and foremost every time you start talking about the anthropogenic global warming idea is that every single one of the models that they use predicts and indeed requires that the greatest amount or the greatest degree of warming in our atmosphere should be at 10,000 meters altitude in the 5 to 7 degrees surrounding the equator in either direction. The problem being that when you put weather satellites on that, when you do readings of that, when you get balloons up there to measure it, it's not happening. The warming that they expect and indeed require for their models to be valid is absent. It is not happening. That destroys their model, as does the fact that the models can't actually actively retrodict given known parameters. Okay, you broke up quite badly. Try again.
You're having audio problems on my end, so I couldn't hear everything there. This happened last time I was on Jitsi, so
right.
I guess you have to just accept technical problems.
Yes, I had a bit of that this morning when I was talking to Megan Remedy as well. I don't think it's my internet per se. I think it's partly my system and it's partly your system, and it's must be global warming, Gary. It must be the problem.
But you said something was not happening.
Oh, yes. The predicted and indeed required rate of warming at 10,000 meters altitude in the 5 to 7 degrees surrounding the equator, both north and south, that the models all are based on and all require, is absent. It is not there. The observations do not match the predictions. And then when you take the in silico models that they've got and you try and run them backwards to retrodict what the atmospheric temperature was for the last 50 years, they fail, and they fail abysmally. So why would you trust a model that can't even accurately retrodict what has happened, what we can say, this is what we measured, now this is what the model should do, and it doesn't do that. So if it can't run backwards and work, why would we expect it to run forwards and work?
Well, sounds good to me. You know what we missed here is telling the viewers a little bit about ourselves, where we're coming from.
Sure.
So they know, just so they know something. So you want to start?
Oh, sure. I mean, okay, I'm here at Gary's invitation to have a discussion. Therefore, I'm letting him lead that discussion and talk about whatever he wants to talk about. This is not a debate. A debate happens according to a set program, a set parameters, set rules, and references are provided up front. Given that that's not the case here, what's occurring here is a discussion, which I'm happy to be having because I think Gary is an interesting character. I think he's got an interesting approach. I think he's got a good way of getting across what he wants to get across. And I think that he is suitably non-threatening in terms of his approach, which suits my personality well. So I'm very happy to be here and happy to have this discussion. My background, for what it's worth, I'm sure everybody pretty well knows it, but basically I was an academic teaching. In the first instance, it was exercise physiology, human performance at the elite level, elite athletes, all All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team, NRL referees, the Rugby League Association down here in Oceania. Also, I did some work with the SAS soldiers here in New Zealand, and also with the Defence Force generally in Australia. I've taught exercise physiology, research methods, statistics, etc. for about 15 years. Got a list of publications, a list of book chapters, etc., conference proceedings, all that kind of stuff. So I've been heavily involved in science. I know how science works. I know what's good about science, and I also know where its flaws and foibles are. Most recently, between about 2013 and 2016, I was teaching cardiovascular physiology and pathophysiology in Leicester in the UK. And then I finished that fixed term contract at the mutually agreed point in time. It was always going to be a 3-year fixed period, because I was teaching out a program that they were not going to be offering after that time. And at that time, I decided to leave academia permanently, because I didn't enjoy the way it's run, the way academics interact with each other, the culture. None of it was good for me. None of it was good for my personality. And so I decided to branch out and do my own thing at that stage. And also in the interim between 2016 and now, I left the UK permanently. I came back to my home in New Zealand, where I now live very happily. And I'm building a YouTube channel and a Patreon channel, whereby I'm able to teach what I see and perceive to be the truth about science and about physiology and about nutrition, which is another thing I've obviously taught as part of the sports science thing. I taught, sports nutrition and generalized nutrition, in fact. And the area that interests me most are around nutrition, health, longevity, the indicated diet for human beings, and some of the fallacies that are out there that are being put forward by others with different ideas to my own. So that's really where I'm at. And pretty much, yeah, that's all I've got to say really at this stage on an introduction. Over to you.
And I just wanted to know, how do you eat? I think that would be relevant here to see.
Oh, sure. Okay. I mean, most people that have had any contact with any of my material at all know that I basically follow a carnivorous dietary pattern. I'm not perfect. I do transgress from time to time and take in the odd bit of plant matter. I am a human being. There is a lot of it on offer. Sometimes it sneaks in there. But basically, to all intents and purposes, I would call myself a 98% carnivore. And prior to that, I've been doing that for about 5 months now, I think. Prior to that, I was largely on a ketogenic way of living for the 20 years or so previous to that. So that's kind of where I come from in terms of my own nutrition.
How long have you been doing low-carb diets?
Well, including 5 months on carnivore, which is very, very low. Prior to that, as I say, about 20 years, Gary, or so.
Okay. Yeah, that was a surprise to me.
Okay.
I did not know that.
There you go.
As for me, well, I have no formal education, as I said before, but a lot of people were confused on that. That just means it's not formal. But I have picked up, I pick up information in the fields of health and diet. And I've been interested in that topic for well over 20 years, maybe 30. And it led me to the vegan diet, which I have been on for almost 24 years now. And so I'm not a scientist, and you are, so we have a contrast there.
Sure.
But I am scientifically inclined, though. I just never was into formal education. And I'm also not a doctor, I should say.
That's right, neither am I.
Yeah.
I think it was actually Mark Twain, Gary, who said that the one thing that interfered with his education the most was his formal schooling.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, you
And,
know, I'm keen to hear what it is that you have picked up, what it is that you've learned, and what you know about things. So by no means am I sitting here claiming any position of authority at all. A lot of people have that thing wrong about me and have been commenting ever since the discussion I had with the fake doctor who doesn't actually exist several weeks ago. And actually what they've done is they've completely misinterpreted what happened there. And if they want to know what happened there in my mind, there's a video on my channel that outlines it very, very clearly.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
You know, yeah. Well, you need to watch all of it, Gary, because it's very informative from start to finish. Well, people need to watch all of it. Whether you watch all of it or not is up to you.
Yeah. Well, that sounded like a debate between you and Ricky.
No, it was a heated discussion. Sorry to interrupt. It was a heated discussion between myself and, I believe, Isaac Brown, in fact. And I have some high-level studies from some experts in the field who would be prepared to testify to that, in fact. So Isaac might find himself in some very hot water very soon. Anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to our second topic.
Okay.
Speaking of that discussion you had there with Dr. Ricky, he spent just about all the time on LDLs. And I don't want to do that here.
Sure.
But I do want to touch on that and kind of move forward with where that discussion was supposed to go.
Right.
So where do you want to start with LDL cholesterol?
Well, I mean, I've outlined all of this stuff as I promised I would on my channel, both free to air, some stuff on YouTube, and also some stuff on my paid platform, my Patreon channel, which outlines some of the stuff quite clearly. But I'm quite happy for your people to run over that again for any of your people that haven't seen that stuff. Basically, the stuff I've outlaid this week, and there is more to come, but this week's material has been around the hemodynamics involved in the development of atherosclerosis, heart disease, from a mechanistic viewpoint. And what I've outlined is that the requirements for atherosclerosis to develop, the requirements around atherogenesis are: 1, damage of a physical nature to the vascular epithelial cells; 2, an inflammatory response by those tissues to the damage that they have endured; 3, loosened gap junctions between epithelial cells; 4, reduced shear stress in given areas on the high pressure side of the vasculature only; and 5, a chronic inflammation which is not resolving itself because of the lifestyle that the individual is living, which prevents that resolution and prevents that healing from occurring, thus perpetuating and setting up a nasty cycle of events leading to the disease known as atherosclerosis heart disease. So basically, in short, your body, my body, everybody's body, Gary, will not ever react to your own native LDL cholesterol that your body generates in any amount, in any concentration. Your body will not react to it because it is native to your body. The issue where the body starts reacting is when the LDL fraction of the cholesterol life rafts, if you like, becomes either jammed between these loose gap junctions or indeed appended to the microcalyces on the epithelial cells lining the vasculature, and they are never released in the way that they should be in the natural course, normal course of events, if we were living natural, normal lifestyles as indicated by nature, by our genes, by the way we've evolved. The fact that these LDLs are never released means that they are stuck there, and constantly they are then assaulted from that point onwards via oxygen being delivered by the blood passing by, and also by glycogen, sorry, not glycogen, glucose in the blood. So yeah, basically you get oxidative and glycolytic damage to the LDL particles, and it's actually not even the cholesterol that's damaged, it's actually the protein that's involved in that life raft. It's the ApoB100 protein that is damaged. Then your body says, that's not a protein that I've made or generated. That is an invading protein. That could be a bad guy invading my body. Now I need to respond to that in an inflammatory response cascade, etc., etc. So to say that LDL is the cause of heart disease right there, Gary, that ends that argument. End of discussion. It is not LDL that causes a problem. It is deranged LDL. And the LDL only gets deranged if it is bound up, caught up, not released, either by being jammed into a gap junction or being caught by the microcalyx and not released. So therefore, the cause is not LDL. The cause is inflammation at its root. That's the end of the debate right there on LDL. Any questions?
You have said a lot of things there.
Yep.
Well, I do have a lot of questions.
Okay,
you said so many things. You went through a lot of the process there.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with anything he said there that I could figure. But let's see, you mentioned a protein that doesn't belong there?
Yeah. Yeah. So the protein that doesn't belong is in fact the ApoB100 protein, but not the one that your body manufactured in the first instance. It's that protein, but that protein has now been chemically altered by being exposed to oxygen and to glucose in the blood for an extended period of time, when it would normally be returned to the liver and recycled. Because it's stuck on that vascular cell, or between two vascular cells, as the case may be, it's not released. It doesn't go back to the liver. It's not recycled. Therefore, it sits there and sits there and sits there. The oxygen and the glucose attack it chemically, change its structure. And when its structure changes from the original ApoB100 to an oxidized or glycated or both version, then the body says, that's no longer me. That's not my protein. That could possibly be an invading pathogen. I need to react. Macrophages, foam cells, atherogenesis. Okay?
So the body tries to get rid of that. And
Correct.
And does it use LDL cholesterol to do that?
No. What your body does when it detects a protein that shouldn't be there in its mind, if you like, it sends macrophages there, which are a specialized subset, I should say, of white blood cells. And what they basically do is spew hydrogen peroxide all over that protein to basically dissolve it, break it down, kill it, render it harmless. At the same time, another brand of macrophages come along and gobble that stuff up, and they then encircle that stuff within themselves. And then the normal process that your body would undertake would be to remove those macrophages and to break them down and to excrete the waste and the feces and whatever else. But that doesn't happen because this is a situation that keeps building on itself, because the resolution that would normally occur is not allowed to occur. So what then happens is the situation gets worse and worse and worse. There are more and more white cells, more and more peroxide, more and more inflammation. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to stop you on when you said the process of clearing all that out does not occur.
Correct.
Why doesn't it occur?
Okay, it doesn't occur because, number one, the level of systemic chronic inflammation in human beings is now at its worst that it's been throughout our history as a species. It continues year by year to get worse and worse, A, because we live worse and worse lifestyles, B, because we have worse and worse dietary patterns, and C, because we keep ourselves insulated from Mother Earth electrically. Pretty much.
Okay, we pretty much agree on that. So inflammation.
Yep.
So what exactly what are the causes of inflammation?
Okay, well, physical damage, in the case of the epithelial cells lining the high pressure side of the vascular system, in other words, the arteries, what happens is humans these days at large have chronically elevated blood pressure. Basically, the longer you've been on Earth, the older you are in general, and there are exceptions, of course, but in general, the higher your blood pressure gets. There are a number of reasons around that. The first one is the tendency for people to be storing fat and getting fatter and fatter as they get older and older. The root cause of that, as I've covered in some other videos I've done on my Patreon channel, is a misunderstanding around the Randall cycle, or the cholesterol fatty acid cycle is another term for the same thing. Basically, if you have a mixed macronutrient diet, in other words, if you eat fats and carbohydrates in significant amounts in your diet, you are asking to store fat, you are asking for inflammation, and you are asking for high blood pressure. You're also asking for atherosclerosis, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, early death, and all the other things surrounding around that. So if you learn nothing else from this discussion today, the thing to take home from this is both the plant-based vegan diet and the carnivorous diet, both those diets are by far and away preferable to the standard American diet or the mixed macronutrient diet of any kind, for that reason alone. For more information on that, see a Facebook group called Optimizing Nutrition, which is headed by a guy called Marty Kendall, who's a very clever Australian chappie who's gone through all this information. Basically, it's about the way that we've evolved with the seasons. In the season of the autumn, prior to the winter, there's a lot of fat and carbohydrate available. And so if that's what, when we were hunter-gatherers, if that's what we were eating, that tells our body that it's autumn time and it's time to store fat. It stops us from using so much energy. It turns our metabolism down. It puts us into fat storage mode. And it also puts us into a situation of chronic inflammation. So that's basically, we've now turned our year-round diet into an autumn diet. That's why we're getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and that's why our blood pressure is going up and up and up, and that's why we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. That's also why the proponents of the vegan diet are perfectly correct when they say the vegan diet will regress this atherosclerosis, will regress this heart problem, will regress the blood pressure and get it back down to normal. It will appear in the first instance to be a healthy diet, which it is, compared to the standard American diet. The same is true of the carnivorous diet.
Now, I bet a lot of people listening are surprised at what you're saying, but I'm not. I knew that you believed in this, that the mixing of carbs and fat are a main problem.
Correct.
I'm surprised that the people in my circle still don't know this.
Well, they don't know it because they're not being taught it, Gary. What they're being taught is that meat is bad for you, which it is not.
Which it is.
Which it is not, Gary. We can get to that, which it isn't. And they're being taught that the only way to go is to have a plant-based or indeed fruitarian diet, which frankly is crazy, but we'll get to that, I assume. Yeah. And they're being taught that cholesterol is causal in heart disease, which we've already completely destroyed in this discussion alone. No, it isn't. They're taught that what they need to do is keep their cholesterol low, which is the worst thing they could actually do for their health. Basically, what I'm saying is they are taught complete misinformation, and they're taught that because the authorities have been bought off by those with a vested interest.
I think when people say cholesterol should be low, Well, they shouldn't use that word. I think what they mean is it should be at levels they think are normal,
Yeah, but they're wrong
at
about that.
normal levels, which
Yeah,
is
but they're
lower
wrong.
than where most people's are.
Well, I mean, my argument on that one, Gary, is that the level of cholesterol in your blood is exactly what it should be. And it is that because you have genes encoding for its production. And those genes have survived 13 billion years of evolution in the universe and 3.8 on this planet. They're genes that work. Cholesterol is absolutely vital in your body for innumerate purposes. Lowering it is contraindicated and dangerous, and you should not do it.
But don't people have widely differing levels of cholesterol?
Correct, because
In
people
their
have
blood?
widely differing genes, and their genes know what they are doing. The medical profession does not know what it's doing. The genes do. The genes have been around a very, very long time. They're there because they work.
But they don't work perfectly because a lot of people are
Exactly.
dying.
Okay, well, they're not dying for the reason of high cholesterol, though, Gary. They're dying because of inflammation. That's what we've already covered.
There's the heart of these debates,
Correct.
which
There's no way around it, Gary. I'm sorry. They are dying because of inflammation. That is what the literature is telling us.
I could say the same thing about other stuff, and there's the debate, which never ends.
Right, well, it does end when the evidence is so powerful, the actual evidence of the mechanistic, pathways by which the disease occurs, that you have to go, whoops, we had it wrong. And they had it wrong. Now we've got it right. It's inflammation at the root cause of heart disease. End of discussion.
You're saying that all the science was wrong until recently?
No, we've known for some time. Actually, Gary, I've been teaching what I'm saying to you today. I've been teaching that for 15 years. At high personal cost, to be fair, because basically, I got bullied and they tried to push me around and tried to stop me from doing it. The reason being because it was at odds with what the authorities were teaching. And the reason the authorities were teaching what they were teaching was not to do with science, and it was not to do with health. It was to do with selling statin drugs.
So much information. I had a question. So there was something that happened 15 years ago that changed things. Does this have to do with studies?
Well, the studies have actually never supported the LDL idea. There have been a number of scientists who have supported that idea, lent weight to that idea with their names, with their reputations, writing review papers, leaning on epidemiology, leaning on associative data. There has never, ever been any study anywhere in the scientific literature that supported any mechanism by which LDL cause heart disease. Not ever. It was never there, and it never will be there because it is wrong. It is not true. It is a fallacy bought and paid for in the literature by the big pharma industries who want to sell statin drugs. Statin drugs are a dangerous contraindicated poison that should be illegal.
Well, we know that the pharmaceutical industry will come over to anything that's going on and make some drug for it.
Correct.
But that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that the science was faulty.
No, the mechanism shows the science was faulty, Gary. That's why I've outlined the mechanism to you, to bring you up to speed with what the literature says currently about what the actual mechanisms are. So now you've had the benefit of that explanation as to what the mechanisms are. Now you have to either agree with me that inflammation is the root cause. Well, it's not just agree with me, it's agree with what the body of the literature says. Or if you want to disagree with me, you need to go back to the literature yourself and read it and tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay. As for mechanism, there's many mechanisms, as you said, right?
There are many. It's multifaceted, yes.
Okay. And how can you be sure that, well, okay. You were saying that the body can regulate the amount of cholesterol in the blood.
Correct.
But it varies widely, but it really shouldn't,
Why not?
because we're all the same species.
I see what you mean. Okay, it varies widely not only between individuals, Gary, but also within a given individual from time to time, based on the requirements of that individual at that time. To give you just one example, there are hundreds, but let me just give you one. 50% by weight of every cell membrane of every one of the 1 trillion or 3 trillion cells in your body is molecular cholesterol. It's that important, okay? If you have any kind of systemic inflammation, those cells are damaged, your body wants to repair those cells, so your body will say, I need more cholesterol to make these repairs. So to say, the inflammation, the heart disease is associated with the cholesterol, yes, it is. But that's not because the cholesterol is causing the problem. That's because the cholesterol is there to solve the problem. Or that's what it's trying to do, but it's not allowed to do it in the way it naturally would.
I think it can be both. I think one doesn't have to rule out the other.
Why not?
It can be there to solve the problem, but also interfere too if there's too much and too much continuing to come in. And do you know where I'm going with that?
I get what you're saying, but what I'm going to ask you obviously is, can you supply me with any kind of mechanistic empirical inference that there is such a thing as too much LDL, or that your genes don't know what they're doing, or that your body doesn't know what it's doing? Why would you say that? As a scientist, I'm interested to know why you would make such an assertion.
What I'm saying is that the genes are not really able to control when you eat cholesterol. It gets absorbed into the bloodstream.
Okay, you're talking about the dietary thing. Okay, let me clear this one up for you, hopefully. 80% of the cholesterol in your body at any given time, including in your blood, is there because it's been manufactured by your body from non-cholesterol sources. Sure, your body is able to absorb cholesterol from the diet if you eat food that contains cholesterol. However, if you have enough cholesterol circulating already for the needs at that time, then your body will excrete excess cholesterol in your intestines and put it straight back out in your feces. The diet has basically no effect to speak of on cholesterol levels at all. It is your genes that control, and the activation and inactivation of these genes, they are in control here, not your diet. That's a fallacy. Okay? Sorry to pour water on you or to piss on your chips, but that's how it is. Your genes are in control, not your diet, in terms of that one.
Well, like I said before, if they were in total control, they would be able to clear the cholesterol.
Okay. Let me clear this one up for you. There is 1 in a million in the population who has a genetic knockout, which means that they don't have the receptor on the cell walls to absorb the cholesterol out of their blood. Those people have grossly, vastly elevated blood cholesterol throughout their lives. Everybody else who doesn't have that knockout has a range of LDL, which is set by a gene which is basically invariant between individuals. The difference is the activation or inactivation of that gene based on the environment that that gene finds itself in that individual at that time. So when you say the body is not able to regulate its cholesterol, that's where we're going to differ, Gary. It is able to do it. It does it. It does it in spades. Okay? If you eat more cholesterol than your body requires, then you shit it straight back out. If you eat not sufficient cholesterol, then your body's production goes up. 20% of the cholesterol in your body came from your diet if you eat a sensible diet. If you eat a non-sensible diet with very low cholesterol, then less of it comes from there. Nonetheless, your body manufactures cholesterol, and it manufactures that from acetyl coenzyme A, which is the first intermediary of your entire metabolic pathway, which means your body is going to make it no matter what you eat.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That last part, at least.
Okay. So which part didn't you agree with?
Well, since, of course, I'm not a scientist, and most people are not, I really don't exactly understand the things you were saying, and I cannot confirm.
Okay. Well, I mean, the way to get confirmation of what I'm saying is to go to the literature and read it for yourself. And if you find papers that you can't read or don't understand, which most lay people are going to experience, then you ask a scientist to help you to interpret what the paper says. What I can say to you about all of this, Gary, is this. I've been doing this now for 17 years. I have had high-level academics with vested interests in disproving me come at me for 17 years. I have got very, very good at crossing my T's, dotting my I's, and making sure I am absolutely, completely, scientifically above reproach. And that's where I'm coming from. It's not me claiming some great authority. It's me saying what I'm saying is supported by the science. And I'm saying it very, very carefully, using very carefully chosen words, because I have had people trying to gun for me for 17 years. I'm still here. I'm not still in that industry, but that's my choice. I left that industry, despite what some of your crazy crackpot supporters will say. Oh, he got sacked. I never got sacked, Gary.
I was just going to bring up crackpots.
Okay.
I've also been in these circles for a while now, and I'm wondering why almost all of the people that promote what you are saying here are weirdos.
That's really not, that's out of my sphere of control, Gary. And, I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, a lot of people said to me about my discussion with you today, they said, don't talk to that Gary, he's a weirdo. I just think you're an interesting character.
Yes. You you can say it's subjective, but Frank.
There you go, Frank. You hit it here first. Gary thinks you're a weirdo.
Baker. What'd you say?
I said, there you go, Frank. You hit it here first. Gary thinks you're a weirdo. He just said
no,
so.
No. It's not my belief. It's universally understood.
Oh, it's universally understood that you're a weirdo, Frank. There you go.
It has been. It's been well documented.
Oh, that must be right then. Now who sounds crazy, Gary? Come on, come back to earth, son. Come back to earth. Let's talk. Let's be
Wait. Are you saying that Frank Tufano is not weird?
I don't think he's weird.
Doesn't have.
I mean, weird is a subjective experience. Weird is not a scientific label.
Okay.
Weird is not empirically, testable. That's just your opinion or someone's opinion. I don't think Frank's weird. No. I think Frank's an interesting character. I think you're an interesting character. I think I'm an interesting character. I'd like to think I'm interesting.
Okay. He's one of the younger ones.
He is that. That's empirically testable.
Younger Carnivore.
Yes, he's 26 or 27 years old. Good. Now we're talking numbers. Yeah. Good.
And so he's one of the few people who are young enough to where the way he looks would not be as affected yet by his diet. But he wears makeup.
Well, he says he doesn't.
Which is, yeah, and he was lying, and that's when proven.
But whatever.
When he proved
I actually don't give a rip-roaring fuck whether he wears makeup or not, Gary. And I don't really think you should either really care about that. Who cares?
But if I wore makeup, you know, it would be used against the vegan diet.
Not by me, it wouldn't.
And
I think if you want to wear, look, Gary, if you want to wear makeup, you go ahead, son. I support your right to wear makeup.
You're missing the point here.
No, I'm pointing out how ridiculous your point is, Gary. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, what's my point?
You want to attack Frank? You attack him on science, son. Attack him on the science. What has Frank got wrong?
Well, we just talked about science for a long time there.
We did.
But people are still going to.
If anything is going to hold anything against you as a vegan, Gary, they're going to say all Gary said about Frank was that he's a weirdo, he looks strange, and he wears makeup. Okay, I'm inviting you to tell me what Frank has got wrong scientifically.
Okay, but I wasn't able to say all the.
Okay, I'll shut up. You say what you want to say.
I just wanted to point out that I don't need to wear makeup. I don't know any vegan man who wears makeup. And and that when he said that he doesn't wear makeup, which means, okay, he said he didn't wear makeup, but there's very suspicious evidence that he was lying, because he showed a video where he was wiping his face and there's no makeup that came off. Just before he wiped his face, there was a jump cut, an unnecessary jump cut. All we can deduce from that is that he was trying to convince people he's not wearing makeup when he is. Why is that? It's because he's covering something. That's what makeup does. That's all I'm saying. And that's just one person. How can I debunk Frank scientifically? Well, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything, probably because there's way too many things.
Or indeed nothing.
For one thing, that wasn't needed to be said, because that's what I was just about to say. Everything he says is rhetorical, which you get a lot of from the people in your circles.
Okay, well, I'm here to stop the rhetoric. I'm here to talk about the science. I'm here to say, let's talk mechanisms. Let's talk about what we can empirically test and observe, which I've been doing. And you want to go back to talking about Frank. Frank's not here. Oh, I'm here. I'm here right now. Frank. And I'm here to talk. And I'm here to talk about science with you, Gary.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had
what
to
else
say.
Do you want to talk about?
That's all I had to say about Frank.
Okay, good. Well, we've done Frank. Let's move on to some more science.
How about Sean Baker?
Okay, let's talk about Sean Baker. What about Sean Baker?
Well, he's even considered a kook in your circles.
And what are my circles, Gary? What do you mean by my circles?
Let's see. I can't say the D word. The people who teach what you do.
Okay.
Pro cholesterol type circles.
Okay. Let's think of it as people who are not concerned about cholesterol as causal in any kind of health concern. That works for me, if you like. I'm not concerned about cholesterol as a reason to be concerned about your health, my health, or anybody else's, unless you have insufficient cholesterol, which you will have if your diet is poor in cholesterol to the point where you're struggling to get enough metabolic starting point to work with. Or indeed, if you take that dangerous contraindicated poison that should be illegal, known as statins, then you're going to have a problem. Other than that, you're not going to have a problem unless you're one of those 1 in a million people that's got that knockout situation. And indeed, their health problems are not due to the fact that they have grossly elevated cholesterol. Their problems are secondary effects based on their inability to get cholesterol into their cells out of the blood. Different thing, isn't it?
You said that, I think you said the vegan diet could prevent atherosclerosis.
No, I said the vegan diet will help regress the atherosclerotic situation in someone who
even
has
better.
It will,
Even better.
absolutely. Yes, it will, in the first instance.
So it can prevent it too, right?
If you eat a vegan diet and you never actually consume the American standard diet ever, it won't prevent it, because eventually on a vegan diet you will become chronically inflamed sooner or later. Some people can last longer than others. Some people will last a few years. The vast majority of people last 5 years or less. There are a few exceptions, yourself, Gary, who will last a number of years, 20 upwards. But mark my words, sooner or later you will have a problem with inflammation, and you will express heart disease as a function of that. Whether that's what eventually kills you or whether it's something else remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, we will all die, and we will all die from something. And if you eat a vegan diet for 20-something years, you can bet there's a problem around the corner sooner or later, because the diet is deficient.
Yeah, I heard you say that in a video recently.
Yeah.
And I noticed you were saying that it doesn't matter what you die of.
I didn't say it doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter to the debate on cholesterol. Is what people have been debating. I've seen that around a lot.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Gary. Try again.
Well, I'm just saying, like when some vegan says, well, I was watching a debate between Vegan Gains and Frank, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
They spent a lot of time going back and forth about how Frank was saying that these studies on 4,000-year-old people, it doesn't show that they died from heart disease. And so,
yeah, I mean, okay, when I gave you an example, well, an opportunity to give us an example of where Frank was wrong scientifically, there's one. Okay, he had that wrong. I'm afraid to say, Frank. The issue with that particular debate that occurred between Richard Burgess and Frank Tufano was that Richard was prepared. Richard had done some homework and Frank hadn't, actually. And Richard gave him some stuff that he couldn't handle because he's actually not a trained scientist. However, Richard had the opportunity to have a discussion with myself about the science over an extended period of time, and he pushed it out and ran away like a little bitch because he knows damn well that I'll tear him 7 new assholes. That's what the situation was there.
I don't necessarily disagree with that either.
Because basically Richard Burgess is a puppet. Richard Burgess is a paid actor. Richard Burgess has no scientific training at all, even less than yourself, Gary, in fact. And what he's doing is parroting a bunch of studies fed to him by his crew of coaches. But basically that's not going to work with me. I'm going to tear him to pieces. And that's why he ran away like a bitch, making excuses like, oh, he shouts and swears. Well, you know, fuck me. Richard Burgess is the worst one at shouting and swearing anywhere on the internet.
Yeah,
so, hashtag vagina is a pussy. Hashtag Richard Burgess, you're a bitch. You're a little bitch.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted to talk about this. I guess you do.
I think I have done now. I think I'm finished. Should we move on?
You said a lot of stuff that I'd like to just follow up on. You said something interesting.
I said a lot of interesting things.
I haven't heard from anyone else, but I've thought of this myself. You were saying Richard Burgess works with people.
That's absolutely clear and patent. Yes, he absolutely does. Of course he does. He's coached.
Yeah, for my, I've been observing him and studying him, and I'm surprised it took me so long to realize. Just a few weeks ago, that he seems like he's too good at what he's doing to be doing it alone.
Until he comes up against somebody like me who will absolutely fucking destroy him, and then he runs away like a little bitch. because he's scared and he's shit his pants. He's opened his big mouth and he's realized that he's bitten off way, way more than he can chew with me, and he's run away. There's no way to escape that. That is what has happened. It's what I predicted in December last year. It's on my channel. Go and have a look. Yeah. I said Richard Burgess will pussy out. He'll make a piss-ass excuse, and he'll run away with his tail between his legs like a little bitch, and that's exactly what he's done. Because he cannot foot it with me.
I don't know. And you said something else. What exactly did you say? He's coached, but I think he said something else about him. That he doesn't work. He's not alone. I think he even has help making his videos.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
And all power to him. Good on him. None of those things would help him in a debate against me.
I think he said he's being paid. I haven't heard that one.
He's a paid puppet. Of course he is.
And who do you think's paying him?
Well, for a start, YouTube.
Well, yeah.
When they're not banning him for 3 seconds for something that he should have been banned for life for doing.
Well, but he's not a puppet of YouTube.
Of course he is.
Who's he? What? Well, he could do anything. If he gave up
Burgess is fantastic for YouTube. He builds views, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He gets interest. YouTube love that.
If he quit the vegan diet and made a video saying, I'm no longer a vegan.
Yep, they'd love that too.
His subs and views would increase, like you see on everyone else who does that.
The thing about being a puppet means someone's got their fist up your ass. And whether you realize that's the fact or not, that doesn't make it any different. You've still got someone's fist up your ass. And Richard Burgess definitely does.
So YouTube isn't keeping him vegan or telling him what to promote.
No, they're not particularly. That's just one example of where he might be being paid. There are other options that of people that may be paying him to put forward a certain thing. I can't substantiate those things at this time, but they're probably there.
Well, just offhand, do you think I'm also being paid?
No, I don't.
Oh,
for a start, the reason for that, Gary, is because I don't, with all due respect, I don't think you're remotely good enough. I don't think anyone would pay you to do what you're doing. Richard's good at what he does. You're not. That's just my opinion. Sorry, but
do you know what I do? Some people don't.
I mean, what you do on what you do online. Yes, I know what you do. I've watched a lot of your videos. I've seen how your channel performs and doesn't perform. You may have other things.
Performance is not related. Well, what do you mean by performance?
Well, I mean, your view time, I mean, your growth rate, I mean, the interest in your videos.
And you are associating that with quality, and that's the fault.
No, I didn't say quality. I said performance. Performance and quality are not the same thing.
Okay.
The performance metrics are clear.
Well, everyone starts out small.
They do, that's right. But some people grow, and your channel is not growing, Gary, particularly. Mine is, for example.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. It's not a, I'm not trying to be deliberately inflammatory or insulting. I'm just giving you my opinion. And my opinion is, you asked me whether I thought you were being paid, and my answer is no, I don't think anyone would pay you. Okay. At this point.
Okay. Back to Richard.
Yeah, sure.
You say he's good at what he does. Well, but what about some people say that I'm a better role model. I've heard someone say this.
You are absolutely a better role model than Richard Burgess.
Yeah, some people say he's working for the other side because he acts.
Because he does more damage than good. Yeah, I think he's an absolute clown. I think he's a fool. I think he's doing more damage than good. Absolutely, personally. And he has a band of followers, and it's quite sizable. It's 300 and something thousand last time I checked. People love him. People are, some people
So I
Other
think
people,
I think that his funders would pull their money out, before he got terminated from YouTube.
well, he didn't get terminated, did he?
But that's what the YouTube message said.
Yeah, but that was an absolute have, wasn't it? Because,
Yeah.
20 seconds later, he was back. And I mean, no, it was longer than 20 seconds. I'm just making the point. He was off the air for not more than a couple of days, was he?
That's right.
Suddenly this channel that has been deleted is now reinstated in full.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what YouTube is saying is if you break the rules consistently and persistently, we have a strikes program, 3 strikes and you're out, unless you're Richard Burgess, in which case 3 strikes and you're out, but you can come back in if you say, oh, I didn't mean to.
Because Richard makes YouTube money.
Correct.
Money for YouTube.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom right-hand corner, Gary.
And also YouTube is pretty chaotic with what they're doing.
Correct.
They're a mess.
Yes.
So we'll move on to Three Rich. Now that guy, do you know that guy?
Which guy, sorry?
The guy who calls himself Three Ridge.
Spheria, yes. Okay, yep, cool.
And these people got a lot of followers that think they're just doing a lot of good for the movement.
Sure.
The guy who wears makeup, but they shouldn't be, but their followers don't seem to care about all sorts of things. These people.
I think there's a thing that's human nature, Gary, and it's called confirmation bias, and I'm sure you've heard of it. Basically, there are people who are vegans and who want to be vegans and who will support vegan channels like yourself and like Richard Burgess' channel and like Freely the Banana Skank, because that's what they want to do. They are hearing what they want to hear. It's confirmation bias. It's their echo chamber. Go Freely, go Gary, go Richard Burgess. That's what they want to do. There are other people who want to be keto or carnivore and they want to hear that and they will support a channel that purports to support that, and they're not really concerned about the sort of minutiae. They're not concerned about for example, Richard saying he wants to stomp babies into a bloody pulp, or pulling out knives, or threatening to kill people or cut their throats, or behave like an absolute fucking dickhead online. They don't care about that stuff. What they care about is hearing what they want to hear. So there will always be people that support both sides of this argument, irrespective of what the facts and what the science may or may not say.
Right.
So, I mean, you mentioned Spheria. I haven't had a lot to do with him. I did have a couple of emails with him months and months ago about maybe going on his channel. It never came to anything. I haven't watched much of his stuff. I have seen what he does. Do I agree with everything he does? No. Do I need to? No.
So you were trying to get a discussion with?
When I was first at the very start, when my channel was like, I think I had several hundred subscribers at the time, about 3 months ago, Gary. I dropped him an email and said, look, I've never been a vegan, but I'm coming from this position. I told him my background. I said, would that be of interest to you? Do you want to talk to me? It would get me some exposure. He said, yep, sure, that sounds interesting, but it never came to anything.
But whatever. Are you really okay with that kind of exposure?
There's no such thing as bad exposure, Gary. Any exposure is good.
Oh, I've said that before, I think. So thanks for confirming that.
Pretty much, it's true. Why would anybody doubt that?
Now, what about the most popular pro-meat person? I don't know what to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Most popular on YouTube. He calls himself a doctor, Dr. Berg, with over 1 million subscribers.
Oh, Eric Berg, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. At first he comes across as respectable and perfectly normal.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been watching him for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And you could point out a lot of weird things there too.
And I have
Or-
done on my channel, Gary. Have you look at my videos? I have
Yeah,
pointed out exactly that about Eric Berg. Yes.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Also, he has some sketchy business behavior.
Yep.
I don't know if you know about that.
Yes, I've heard reports of that. Whether it's true or not remains to be seen. I have seen multiple written reports from individuals who have had various complaints against Eric Berg for dodgy business practices. Yes, I have heard that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering if he's on the right side and he has the formal training.
He doesn't have the formal training to be a nutritionist. He's a chiropractor.
Yeah. But his viewers are easily tricked. They don't know those things or don't care.
Yep. Agreed.
They have
some of what is right. Most of what he says is not right.
His viewers see Dr. Berg as someone who is upstanding.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Berg would have no reason to act crazy to get attention. Get
correct. What he does works well in terms of getting him attention. He presents himself as an upstanding professional. He calls himself doctor, which he's entitled to do, by the way.
Except recently, he did something out of character. That he watched that debate between Richard and Frank,
right,
where they both acted pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Berg said that he thought Vegan Gains was literally insane.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't acting insane. He was acting normal.
Well, Eric Berg is not qualified to make assessments on someone's mental health. Neither is Richard Burgess. And you'll see something on my channel about that too, if you want to have a look at that. Because Richard Burgess turned around and did the same thing to me. But at the end of the day, who cares what Eric Berg says about Richard Burgess, and who cares what Richard Burgess says about me? At the end of the day, I'm quite happy about my mental health. In fact, it's better than it's ever been. I'm not really particularly concerned about the mental health of Richard Burgess nor of Eric Berg. They've all got their own axes to grind, their own kites to fly, and they're doing what they want to do. Power to them.
But as I've been saying about Tim Sheaf, you really can't diagnose your own mental health, because the problem is your own mind. You're diagnosing. You're deciding with your own mind. If your own mind has a problem,
Sure.
a flaw there.
Sure. But I mean, to get an assessment of your mental health, you have to first suspect or have someone tell you that they suspect there's a problem for you to go and have professionally assessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you've been through that. I know that Richard Burgess has. He's been quite open about that. I don't know if Eric Berg has or not. I certainly have myself. And I do have a professional opinion on that quite recently. In relative terms, and in fact my mental health has been improving month on month, day on day, ever since I went on the carnivore diet. I have had a lifelong history of serious anxiety and that kind of thing, and that's now completely abated. I mean, 4 or 5 months ago, there's no way I could possibly have considered being an online YouTube personality or having this discussion with you or taking Richard Burgess on or any of the stuff I've been doing, and now I can. So that's, the inflection looks upward to me. It looks good. And the professionals who have made an assessment on myself recently agree with me. So there you go.
So you have documentation.
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if your inference was, am I insane? The answer is no, I'm not, apparently.
All right. Lots of information there.
As usual.
So
what's the next topic?
So I was just saying that it, it, Dr. Berg looks kind of crazy for saying that, because he said it 3 times, and you really can't see.
Okay, much like my response to the questions about Frank, I'm going to say the same thing about Eric Berg, and that is, who cares what I think about Eric Berg? Who cares what you think about Eric Berg?
Not what we think, though. It's self-apparent right there.
Well, that's your opinion, and you're welcome to it. What I'm here to talk to you about today, Gary, is science. It's not about my opinion about Eric Berg or Frank Tufano or Richard Burgess or anybody else. What we're here to talk about is some science. We've been doing that quite a bit. Hopefully there's been some education for your people around how the science works on this thing. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully, if nothing else, people want to go to the literature and check what I'm saying has some veracity, and I can promise you it does, because, as I said, there have been people gunning for me for 17 years, and they haven't actually made a chink in my armor yet, because what I'm saying is correct in terms of what there is in the literature and what it infers, what the mechanisms are. I am above reproach in this respect because I've made damn sure of it. So if we can stick to discussions on that, that'd be great. And if you want my opinions on anybody, you can ask me and I might give them to you or not, but it's really completely irrelevant, Gary. Who gives a fuck what I think about Eric Berg?
It's not what we think of him. I wasn't asking for your opinion.
Well, you were.
That's what you thought I was asking.
Okay, well, what are you asking?
Actually, I wasn't asking anything.
Oh, well, you're just making a comment about Eric Berg. Okay, well, fine.
It's just
all right. Well, you've made a comment. You've made your comment. You've made your opinion clear on Eric Berg. You think he's a nut. Okay, great. Let's move on.
Okay, we'll get back to the science in the next topic.
Cool. That'll be good.
In just a minute.
All right.
I was just looking at this on the monitor here, and it reminded me of what I wanted to say about Tim Sheaf. The color of this may look like urine, but no, it's just apple juice. Now, Tim Sheaf, on the other hand, has videos drinking his urine, which he did for 2 years straight, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, okay, let's forget about the subjective topic of insanity, and just, can I say that shows pretty good evidence of orthorexia. When you put together all the other things he does and his mindset, he's looking for something. He's desperate to find some kind of higher plane, something that's like in the astral world.
Okay, so your opinion is that Tim Sheaf probably has orthorexia. You think drinking your own urine is insane. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I also, would ask you, great, how does any of that impact on the science of whether or not the carnivorous diet is indicated for the human being throughout the lifespan?
We're going to get to that. Well,
let's get to that, because, I don't want to sit here and talk about Tim Sheaf. I don't give a shit about Tim Sheaf.
Okay. But, a lot of people do who are watching.
Well, they can go and watch Tim Sheaf's channel then. I'm here with you, Gary.
That's not nearly as fun as people talking about Tim Sheaf. He's not very fun. He's kind of boring.
Well, I don't know. I've never watched any Tim Sheaf videos.
He's pretty depressed and tired after that long fast.
All right, I'll take your word for that. But seriously, let's move on.
Okay, next topic. Okay, here. Okay, I have that written down as causation.
Yeah.
According to your position.
Yep.
It's impossible to prove that anything causes cardiovascular disease. I wrote that down a while back. It sounds very complex from what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not just one cause, and there's a lot of things going on at one time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. To clarify my position there, because you have misrepresented it there, probably, not with malice or forethought at all, but probably due to a lack of understanding of what I've been saying. And it's this: atherosclerosis does have a root cause. Clearly, patently, obviously, it's mechanistic, it's published in the literature, it is absolutely clear. While there are a number of things that can impact upon inflammation, it is inflammation that is at the root of atherosclerosis. That is the root cause. Clear?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, good.
Now, while the body does regulate cholesterol in the blood, regulate levels, well, it does that with everything, right? It just regulates everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's able to regulate blood sugar also.
To a point.
Thank you.
What causes dysregulation of blood sugar, Gary?
The insulin receptor cells.
A lot of people will blame insulin, and I understand why they do that. Insulin is not, however, the root cause. Insulin is a step along the way.
Not the insulin itself. The receptor cells that connect insulin.
Are you referring to GLUT4?
To transport it out of the bloodstream?
Yeah, GLUT4. Okay. But that's not the cause either.
Well, if the sugar cannot connect with these cells, it can't take it out of the bloodstream.
Right, but why is that happening, Gary?
Why do you think it's happening?
Guess what? It's inflammation again, boys and girls. Okay. Inflammation, inflammatory biomarkers, intermediaries. What we've got here is a situation where the GLUT4 transporter becomes less activated, and that is due to a phosphorylation system and some intermediaries along the way. Yeah. Again, for very clear, mechanistic, scientific, with peer-reviewed literature spoken about, for a video about that, go to my Patreon site, sign up at the $10 level, and you'll get it, basically. It's about the Randall cycle, otherwise known as the glycerol fatty acid cycle, and I cover that in some depth over there, so I won't cover it again here today. What I will say, though, is the root cause of glucose dysregulation is inflammation. And there are many things that can impact upon inflammation. The one that's most important in human beings, the one that's usually the cause of glucose dysregulation in human beings, is the mixing of sugars and fats in the diet.
Yes. So if you were to just eat a carb-based diet where there wasn't much fat, you would also decrease inflammation?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you, Gary? But you'd be wrong again, unfortunately.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. And I'll give you the mechanism of that too. Here it is. Plant-based foods, particularly those that are rich in carbohydrates, i.e. sugars or starches, are very high in deuterium. Deuterium is another form of hydrogen. It's a heavy form. Instead of just a proton and an electron, what you've got is a proton, a neutron, and an electron. It weighs about twice what the hydrogen does. Your body handles it differently. It affects your mitochondrial ability to produce oxygen. It therefore reduces the cellular redox state of your cells, which thereby means there's a higher degree of phosphorylation to all the pro-inflammatory biomarkers. And guess what? Inflammation. So, sorry.
Okay.
It's less inflammatory than mixing your macros up. Absolutely. So if it's a choice between mixed macros and just carbs, I'd take the just carbs. However, if I want to reduce my inflammation, I get rid of the carbs and I replace them with fats and proteins, because they're anti-inflammatory, not pro-inflammatory.
So to put it simply, if you ate a low-fat diet, you would reduce. You said you wouldn't reduce inflammation?
No, a low-fat diet is not anti-inflammatory. A low-fat diet is pro-inflammatory.
So if if you eat a low-fat diet, if you go on a low-fat diet, your inflammation goes up, and so your blood sugar would go up too.
Correct.
Because of that inflammation.
Correct, eventually.
Have you heard of Dr. Neil Bernard?
Many times. Yeah.
So how is he doing it?
How's he doing what?
How is he reversing diabetes in 98% of his patients?
Well, we've covered this one, Gary.
A low-fat diet.
We've covered this, haven't we? If you...
Not this area.
Yeah, we have. If you come off the standard American diet, which is pro-inflammatory, pro-diabetes, and you go on to a plant-based, high-carbohydrate, low-animal fat diet, that will, in the short term, reduce the chronic inflammation that you have suffered because of the standard American diet. So in the first few years on a vegan diet, you will do better. You will reverse that diabetes. You will reduce your inflammatory situation. You will feel better. You will say, oh, the vegan diet is the answer. But you'd be wrong, because at some point, and you are one of the exceptions, Gary, that's lasted as long as you have, if indeed you have lasted as long as you say you have on a vegan diet, okay, you'd be the exception. The rule is clear, and it says that 84% of everyone who ever tries to go on a plant-only diet quits within 4 years, and 93% within 5 years. Okay, the reason for that is because those people's health falls apart. Their bodies fall apart. They age like fuck. They're inflamed as fuck. It's not good. It's not good at all long term. It's only good short term.
Who are you thinking of some specific vegans?
I'm thinking about vegans in general, and I'm speaking about vegans in general. I'm not delimiting my comments to any one given individual, because there are always outliers to every rule.
So are you talking about studies that have been done on vegans to see that
there are actually very few studies that have been done on people who are truly vegan? Show me one.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's because they don't fucking exist, Gary. That's why you can't show me one.
Studies much.
Well, you asked about studies because, you know, you think you've got studies behind you. Well, great. What are the studies? There are no studies that I know about that have been done well-designed on purely vegan people. There's a lot of plant-based stuff out there, but plant-based doesn't mean no animal products. That means mostly.
I asked because I didn't really think there was much studies.
No, there's not. Either way, on vegans or on carnivores. Neither diet has particularly much evidence in the literature to support it.
That's right.
I know it's right. That's why I said it.
Oh, so so if there's a lack of studies, and you're not thinking about specific people, then what are you basing that statement on?
Which particular statement?
The failure of vegans.
Oh, do a Google, Gary. Do a Google on the failure rate of veganism. It's anecdotal evidence, you know, those that are interested in finding out such things. It's not a scientific statement. It's not. I'm not talking about peer-reviewed literature. It's a Google thing.
So, what? I
mean, are you seriously? Are you? Well, look up the failure rate of veganism, for example. See what you come up with.
What would I come up with? Should I do it now?
Yeah, what you'll probably come up with is some figure pretty similar to what I've just spoken about, because they're figures I came up with when I did a quick Google.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just type it in here now. Let's see.
Are you seriously doubting the veracity in what I'm saying there? In terms of, I'm not saying that it's a scientifically established fact. I'm saying anecdotally, you do a Google search on how many people remain in veganism having started, and it's very, very few beyond about 4 or 5 years, basically. And then you go to YouTube and you look for the videos on how veganism destroyed my life and how veganism nearly killed me and why I'm no longer a vegan, and you'll find fucking hundreds of them. And then do the same thing about carnivory, and you won't find a single one just about. So, you know, if you want to talk about anecdotes,
that's not what's trending at the moment.
Okay, well, what's trending right now?
Seriously, you just said what's trending. You go to YouTube to see what's trending,
Well,
and people see what's trending.
Is YouTube an accurate microcosm of the universe, or is it just what is happening on YouTube right now?
It is not a microcosm of the universe, definitely not.
Okay. All right. So look, is anybody,
people in the universe aren't being paid by YouTube.
Okay, is anybody in the universe seriously going to argue with me that a great majority of the people who start a truly vegan diet remain on it beyond 4 or 5 years? Are you going to say that's not true, Gary? Or
okay, I actually don't think that's not true, but that's kind of different than what I was talking about.
Okay, is it that important? Shall we move on then? It was a throwout comment. It was based on a Google search that I did a week or two ago.
Okay.
I've never heard anybody give me a reason to doubt that, to say that it's not true. I think the trend is clear. Most people.
Okay, that could be true, but the reasons for it, it's like saying if someone was promoted in their job, that means they failed in their last position.
Okay, so what you're saying is coming off the vegan diet onto another diet as a promotion in their diet? I'd have to agree with you, unless they're going back to the standard American diet.
Of course, that's not what my point was.
Well, what was your point?
Is that what I was saying doesn't make any sense.
That's right. What you're saying doesn't make any sense, Gary, from start to finish. That's what I've been saying all along.
Well, I didn't have to use the word. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Didn't have to use the word. I didn't have to use the word promotion. I wasn't afraid to use the word. But let's say they just went to a different job. There's many reasons they could do that. Maybe they got bored. Maybe
they didn't want to be an academic anymore. Maybe they decided to go and work for themselves doing a YouTube channel. Yep, cool.
So you really, it doesn't mean that they failed on the vegan diet just because they
failed. I said quit.
Okay.
And I suggested that the reason for it is because their health falls to bits on a vegan diet. And the reason I said that is because you do a Google search, you do a search on YouTube, and count how many videos are going to come up when you punch in why I'm no longer a vegan. There are fucking hundreds of stories, Gary. Hundreds and hundreds and fucking hundreds of them. Veganism destroys people's health. Fact. Does it destroy everybody's health that ever tries veganism? That's not what I'm saying. The vast majority of people suffer at some point because they've been on a vegan diet. Yes, you bet your ass they do.
Well, let me tell you something. I have made 800 videos over the last 6 years, and one of my focuses has been on people who go off the vegan diet. I have dozens of videos. If people want to check that out, to dig deeper in to that issue, and all the myriad of reasons why people leave or say they leave. Or why do they even get on the vegan diet in the first place? That's something to look at.
Because they have been
misled. Because they have health problems being non-vegan. Now you could say, wait a second, wait a second. Yeah. And I'm saying, wait a second to you, and just jumping to the conclusion that the vegan diet is the cause when you can't prove causation.
Okay, so the vegan diet
videos show that.
Did not help then. Fine, same thing. The vegan diet did not help. Let's say they had health challenges when they started.
Oh, I've made plenty of videos on that too.
I'm sure you have.
I think today I wrote somewhere that vegans need to eat better. Most vegans do not.
Yeah, they need to get some fucking meat into them, Gary. That's what they need to do. And they need to ditch the fucking toxic plants that are fucking killing them. That's what they need. You're dead right, they need to eat better.
Well, my path has been much different than most people's going into veganism. Most people say, I'm going to try the vegan diet, and then they go vegan. I never said that I was going to try the vegan diet. 24 years ago, I wanted to improve my health, and so I started learning about health and diet, and I just naturally fell into eating mostly plants. By eating, healthier foods, no processed foods, and fruits, vegetables, whole grains type of thing. While most vegans go vegan for ethical reasons, or because they just hear it's healthier, and stuff like that, but they don't really change the way they eat. They want to emulate the way they used to eat with the fake meats. And so their diet didn't get healthier. But the way I've been eating, that it's the reason why I've lasted this long. It's the reason I have zero health problems.
That combined with your particular genes, Gary, which are obviously such that you are able to withstand the abuse of a vegan diet better than most people. That's what the evidence tells us.
I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video where I described myself. I've been vegan almost 24 years, but I should have also said that the diet has been very high in fruit, somewhere around 15 pieces a day. And I've been doing that the entire 23 years. And about 7 years ago, I got into the raw food scene. And my diet is now mostly raw. And in the last few years, it's been very low fat. Somewhere around 13% of calories from fat. Also for 7 years, I've eaten a very low, what people would call low protein. It's much lower than most people's. And I was just telling someone in the YouTube comments a few days ago, had an argument. I said I eat about 40 to 45 grams of protein a day. I've been doing that for 7 years straight. And he said that that's just, forget the words, but made it sound like that's just way too low. But too low for what? Because what are the health problems? Tell me what my health problems I am fighting off are.
Well, Gary, you say you have no health challenges. I have to take your word for that because I don't know you from a bar of soap. What I do know from what you're saying is, assuming that what you're telling me is true, and I have no reason to doubt what you're saying, you have followed a vegan diet for 24 years. Well, congratulations on that. What that tells me is that your particular genes are such that your resistance to that form of self-abuse is higher than that of most people's. That's my take on that. That's how I interpret that information. What I will say to you is at some point you will run into a health problem, and it will be related to dietary insufficiency of some kind. And I would suggest one of 5 areas where it's likely to show up, but everyone's a bit different in terms of how they will respond to whatever stimulus they put themselves throughout their lifespan, I guess.
So were you just giving me 5 more years?
I didn't say that.
I didn't really hear what you said.
What I said was, it is likely that at some point, if you continue on that dietary pathway that you're on now, you will experience a serious health problem at some point, and it will almost certainly be related to dietary insufficiency in one of 5 areas.
Have a technical problem. Oh, or was that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
There's audio problems here.
Yeah, okay.
You said 5 areas, and then I couldn't hear you.
That was it. That's all I said.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I looked up failure rate of vegans.
Okay, what have you got?
Search. Failure rates. I got the first site that I got is www.beyondveg.com.
Okay, so that's not an itinerant site already, is it? Just by its name. Go on.
It's not a what site?
It's not one with an agenda, obviously. You can tell by the name of the thing before you even look at it. Beyond Veg. Okay.
So you're being sarcastic?
Yeah, I am, absolutely. What does Beyond Veg have to say?
I want to verify that you're being sarcastic.
Yes, I am being sarcastic. Yeah. What does Beyond Veg have to say?
Oh, well, I'll just read the description.
Go on then.
I'm not going to click on their video on their website. Low success rates, long term, for 100% raw food diets, cheating, making exceptions. That's all.
Okay.
But it's interesting that the first search result is a biased website.
I didn't say that. I said it likely is.
Oh, well, they are. I know this site very well.
And they are. Okay, good.
I think I don't want to get into attacking people's private lives, but
unless they're Frank or Dr. Baker, in which case it's okay then. Is that what you're saying?
I think
because that's what you've done today, Gary. So don't tell me you don't want to do that, because you do want to do that. You've done it today.
Well, I don't want to do it with this website.
Oh, you want to do it with this website? Okay, I see. Oh, okay, good.
But I just remembered that the owner of that website is a felon. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next site. Alex Jameson. I'm not vegan anymore. The next one is Mercola.
Uh-huh.
And he's also a criminal. I'm not making that up either.
Jesus, Gary.
What?
Is any of this important, really?
Your
viewers and mine want to actually discuss something worthwhile. Can we do that?
Yes.
Good. Well, what's your next topic? Fuck.
But I'm not sure exactly what everyone wants to hear about. What do you think people want to hear?
Well, my understanding was that you wanted to discuss some science with me. We've done a bit of that, but you've also had a shot at some carnivores for wearing makeup or being weirdos or whatever. You've also, you've wasted a lot of time talking about
not a lot.
Shit. Okay,
I'm just making brief comments, and then I do want to just move on.
Oh, well, let's do that. Let's move on. Cool.
Okay. So causation, I wrote some more stuff down here.
Good.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff, but I don't know if you would like any of this. I was wondering, yeah, you said recently, I think today's video, I don't know, you said you're not here to promote a specific diet or promote things, but just to debunk the BS that you hear a lot. And that's exactly why I'm here.
And as such, I guess what you need to do is what you believe to be right for the reasons you believe it to be right, and all power to you in so doing. I'm going to do the same thing. It's fine. You're going to have an opinion on things. I'm going to have an opinion on things. We're going to agree on a lot of stuff, and we're going to disagree on a lot of stuff. That's life.
Well, it's an interesting, well, it's a convenient position to put yourself in. It's easy to debunk stuff. But I was wondering what you want to be the outcome of what you're doing.
Well, for example, you've given me an opportunity today to put out there some mechanistic scientific explanations for example, the disease process known as atherosclerosis. I've done that. That's great. Hopefully, your people have learned something from that discussion. If nothing else, hopefully it prompts them to go to the literature and look for themselves for the mechanisms and find out that what I'm saying is absolutely correct.
Okay, and then what?
Then I have increased the number of people who understand this disease process to a much higher degree. I have decreased the number of people who are stupid enough to be taken in by such a ridiculous argument as the LDL argument. And I've increased the number of people who understand that statin medication is a dangerous contraindicated poison that ought to be illegal. Hopefully, out of that, less people will take that drug.
Okay. And they'll be able to get off statins if they do something else. But what is it you would want them to do?
What is it that I would want them to do? It's not about what I want, Gary. It's about me offering the information, the knowledge that I have to the general public by way of, number one, debunking the absolute ridiculous nonsense that a lot of people are espousing online, as I see it, based on my scientific understanding, which is significant. And secondly, to provide that scientific understanding to support my claim that my understanding of the science is significant. Hopefully, thereby encouraging people not just to take my word for it, but to go and check that what I'm saying is correct, that what I'm saying in terms of the mechanisms of atherosclerosis, heart disease, is in the literature. And I can promise you it is. That's why I'm saying that it's in the literature, because it is in the literature. Why am I saying that statins are a dangerous contraindicated poison, Gary? Because it fucking is. The literature shows us that clearly. The mechanism shows us that absolutely, irrefutably, end of discussion. Okay? The white coat doctor that will sit there and say statins are life-saving, you must take them, you must never go off them, or you will die of a heart attack because your cholesterol is high, they are misinforming the public. It is malpractice on a massive scale. It should be illegal. These people are following the guidelines of the physicians' boards in the various countries that are mandating them to say this misinformation to people. It is criminal, and it needs to stop.
Well, a lot of people would just prefer drugs than to change their lifestyle.
Yeah, but the drug they've been given is going to fucking kill them, Gary, at some point. The cholesterol is never going to cause them any problem whatsoever. None. The drug will kill them. How is that justifiable? It isn't. It has to stop. That's what I'm here to do, to get that word out there.
So get off the statins and go vegan?
No, I wouldn't suggest go vegan. That's pro-inflammatory in the long run. It's deficient. It will lead you to health concerns, most likely.
Well, these people are old anyway.
Fine.
Okay.
So
Next.
You?
There was another thing I want to bring up.
Yo.
And let's see, it was like 2 months ago or so, where you were reviewing my video that I filmed in bed. Yeah.
The one where I was taking the piss out of you, Gary. That one.
Yeah. And I said that vegans should be afraid of you because of your scientific background.
Sure.
And you said, thanks a lot, kid.
Words to that effect.
Yeah. No, I think I got the quote here. I wanted to make sure.
I don't think I would have used the word kid, especially not referring to you, Gary.
But I think you did.
Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm sure I didn't, but I said thanks very much, something or other, probably. I'm sure. The kid's not a word I would use. I don't think. Anyway, the message was, you said vegans should be worried about me because I have some scientific knowledge, and I said, well, thanks very much. Yep. Okay. So what's your point?
Well, my point is, you said some word. I don't. Maybe you can guess what word that was. That alludes to me being a lot younger than you. Because that's
I might remotely have said some, but I don't think I did. Anyway, what's the point? You're not younger than me. Everybody can see that. The point is,
exactly how young do you think I look?
I see. I think you look all of your 58 years old, 59 years old, Gary, to be honest. I think you look all of it.
Now, aren't you kind of discrediting yourself?
In what way?
When you use hyperbolic language to, I've had so many people do this to me.
If that's
they're trolls. I'm talking about trolls here.
Okay, if that's the best you've got on me, that I'm a bit of a troll, in your opinion, well, congratulations on that opinion. That's fine. I'm quite happy to be a troll in your mind. That's not my intent. My intent is to get the truth out there to the public. And if I offended you in any way, I apologize for that. I didn't mean to offend you. I thought you were the sort of character that was of enough fortitude to deal with the ribbing. And I thought it was a piss funny video that I made taking the piss out of you, frankly. But that's just my opinion.
Did you realize that my video was to be funny?
Yeah, I thought it was wildly amusing. I think it wasn't a bad effort, Gary, to be honest. Yeah. I don't mind that sort of thing. I think it's good. Bit of ribbing. So down here in the antipodes, we call it sledging.
Okay, so I will reword my question.
Okay, let's have that then.
How old do you think I look? You really?
Oh,
what?
It's really hard to gauge. It really is, especially when you know what the actual number is. Because that
I don't think you do.
Well, I've seen somewhere that you're 58 or 59. I think you posted that on one of your own videos, actually. That said 59-year-old is.
So I'm doing pretty good for a 59-year-old.
If you are 59, you don't look bad for it, to be honest. If that's what you're looking for, then you can have that.
Really?
I think you look great, Gary.
Okay.
You're a very sexy man.
But you don't really think I'm doing that. I could be doing that well. You really don't think I could be 59?
Look, I have no idea. I'm not really very good at this sort of game, Gary. That's not the sort of, no idea, to be honest with you. I mean,
well, yeah, from a distance, you pick up the whole look, but up close, you can see, when you see the detail in my face here, around the eyes and around the mouth, then I don't look 58.
I take it back. You're not that sexy after all. Sorry. Up close, I withdraw my comment about your sexiness.
Okay. You want to put your face close to the camera?
if you
Or
like.
you want to go to the next topic?
Let's go to the next topic. Comparing sex and this is not really, helping anybody, to be fair.
That's, again, I think that's disingenuous. I never said anything about that.
About what?
Talking about aging.
It's just verbiage, Gary. And what I'm getting at, I suppose, is that once again, we've drifted off the science onto N=1 observations. We've drifted onto anecdotes. We've drifted onto ribbing each other and having fun at each other's expense. But actually, none of this is helping anybody. So what's the next topic?
Yes, it is. Okay. I think this is going very well.
Yeah, for me. Yeah.
Okay. So, I would like to sum up very briefly my questioning of your science. And a lot of things can cause inflammation.
Yep.
I'd say that basically things that throw the body off balance, throw the bloodstream off balance, can cause inflammation. Like smoking, that's not even food. That'll cause inflammation.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would say trans fats, if there's a lot of it in the blood, it could cause inflammation.
Or even a very little bit there, Gary. Trans fats are very, very bad. Agreed.
Oh, but what about natural trans fats?
I'm not convinced. There is some discussion in the literature about a certain level of natural trans fats having a purpose and being hormetic or good for you in a certain way. I'm not convinced. I would need to read more. But suffices to say, very definitely, very clearly, man-made trans fats are definitely bad. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Okay, I might as well get to the last topic. It's getting kind of late. Cool. So the last topic is the right diet for humans.
Yeah.
What should we be eating?
My opinion, and this is not advice because I don't give advice on diet. I give advice on the science, my interpretation of the science. And my take on that is that the indicated and sensible diet for human beings throughout the lifespan is a carnivorous diet.
Throughout what lifespan?
Throughout the lifespan.
Of people's lives?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And the reason you think that is because of history.
Well, no, the reason I think that is because the diet appears to be highly anti-inflammatory, which is a good thing. It is nutritionally complete, which is a good thing. And those are really the two very most important factors, because nutritional incompleteness and inflammation are the two things which are responsible for almost every disease process known to man. So if we can deal with that in the diet, so much the better. Is that all you need to do to have a healthy life? No, you need to also connect electrically to the earth as much time as possible. You need to avoid non-native EMF frequencies as much as possible. You need to avoid artificial light at the wrong time of the day. You need to have a low stress environment insofar as that's possible. Obviously, you need optimal stress, because no stress is dead and too much stress is dead. It's one of those type of things. So yes, again, it's multifaceted, but at the end of the day, diet is very, very important. And my take on it is that the carnivorous diet is very, very good. And all the anecdotal stuff available to date would support me on that.
So you're not looking at history, you're looking at the science?
I'm looking at how things appear to be right here and right now, yeah.
Appears according to what?
Well, according to the anecdotes that I've been outlining, and according to some of the science I've been outlining, that's how it seems to me. But that's my interpretation of the science.
What about the ancient people? Like Frank talks about that a lot.
What about them?
I think
they are from a different time. They are from a different place. They had different stimuli. Their genes were reacting to what stimuli their genes were subject to at that time.
Well, then if you're looking at anecdotes and how some of the science seems to appear, then you could conclude the kind of diet I eat is how...
You absolutely could. You cherry pick, Gary. If you have confirmation bias, if you don't look at the literature as a whole body, if you look at the stuff that you want to see and you read the stuff that you want to see, and you agree with the conclusions of authors that agree with you, then absolutely you could form that opinion. You'd be wrong, but you could still do that. Absolutely.
You make claims a lot, like I would be wrong.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
That's my very qualified opinion. For what it's worth. You don't have to agree with me. I know you don't. I know you never will. But I'm not here to actually convince you of anything, Gary.
An overriding problem I have with the carnivore diet is it goes completely opposite of our biological design.
No, it doesn't, Gary. Why would you say such a thing? What do you base that on?
You don't know what I base that on?
I'm asking you what you base that on.
Oh, anthropological research and science.
So glorified associative data again. High-level studies, Gary. Is that what you've got?
No studies, but just like the classification for species.
Mm-hmm. And so the classification of species, there's never been errors made there. There's never been updates made to the classifications of things.
No big ones.
Nonsense.
We know.
Sorry, Gary, that's nonsense. There have been massive, massive changes made.
Specifically with our type of species?
That's not what you said.
Which is, well, let's talk about us.
Okay. Homo sapiens sapiens. Very good. Okay. What would you like to know about that?
What is our classification for humans?
Well, we're Homo sapiens sapiens.
What kind of animal? What classification of animal?
We are related, if that's what you mean. We are related to the great apes. But we are a species in our own right.
But we're not just related.
We are very closely related to the great apes. Yeah. So what's your point?
Okay. And we're more closely related to them than carnivorous animals.
We share 96% of the same DNA as a fruit fly, Gary. What's your point?
That's not a classification.
Is it not?
A fruit fly is a fly, and it's an insect.
It's very, very different from us, isn't it, Gary? But we share 96% of the same DNA.
Oh, I'm not talking about DNA then.
Well, what are you talking about? Because that's the thing that determines how we work, isn't it?
I don't really know.
Well, that's what you need to know before you enter into such a discussion with a scientist, Gary.
Pretty wacky there.
You
That's
know,
very,
let me give you the answer. Yes, DNA is the thing that determines how we work. DNA controls everything. The DNA and the interaction of that DNA with the environment in which it finds itself.
Would you say that you are conveying that our DNA has changed from the last few 100,000 years?
Yes,
lot?
of course it has.
So much.
A lot is a relative term, Gary.
Well, would it be to the point that we should eat very differently
than what we did 100,000 years ago? I guess the fact of the matter is we do eat very differently from the way we did 100,000 years ago, and it's been very, very negative on our health.
Well, I don't eat very differently.
If you eat a largely vegetarian and or fruitarian diet, then yes, you do eat very differently from what your ancestors did 100,000 years ago. Because the fruits and vegetables that we eat today, Gary, did not fucking exist 100,000 years ago. They've been manipulated by mankind over generations and generations into completely different species. They are not the same thing.
They've been altered.
They've been altered almost beyond recognition.
Not to the point of not being the same foods.
Yes, they have, Gary. You're completely mistaken.
Are you saying that hundreds of thousands of years ago, fruit was not anything?
It's not remotely the same as it was 100,000 years ago.
No. They weren't mostly water.
Nope, they were mostly fiber. They had much lower fruit. Sorry, not fruit. They had much lower sugar content. They were much more fibrous. This is something you could even a Google search will show this one up for you, Gary. You really need to do your homework, son.
Can you making this too easy? So the fruit we know, well.
Are you going to ask me the same question again? Because I'll give you the same answer again. Yes, Gary, it's a completely fucking different thing.
Were there no water-based, carb-based things?
That's not what I said, Gary. I said fruits and vegetables were completely different 100,000 years ago to what they are now. Most of the fruits and vegetables that we eat in our diet today, those of us that do that, did not fucking exist 100,000 years ago. Most of the vegetables we eat are human inventions, selectively bred for over generations and generations.
Did you say most?
Yes. Very few of the vegetative matter that we eat now existed 100,000 years ago. And those that did were completely different.
So what I'm trying to just get at is, back in those times, was there some kind of food that resembles fruit that's carb based and high in water that you could eat like I do?
Well, okay, again, let me give you the same answer again, Gary.
Oh,
yes,
I've been hearing that answer for years. I know this.
Well, then why are you asking the same question? You're going to get the same answer. Yes, fruit existed. It was a completely different thing to what is available in the supermarkets today. It was much higher in fiber, much lower in water, and much lower in sugar.
Okay. So what did monkeys eat back then?
My understanding is that monkeys back then ate a lot of leaf matter. They ate the fruits such that they were at the time of year that those fruits were available, which was seasonal mostly, except for those apes that lived in an equatorial zone. in which case there was probably different sorts of fruits available at different times of the year, absolutely, but it was not the same stuff that we've got now. And that said, what monkeys ate is completely irrelevant to what human beings should eat. Completely irrelevant.
Again, you're making some claim.
I'm making some claims that are based on common fucking sense, Gary.
The common sense is that our bodies are so similar to monkeys.
And almost the same as a fruit fly, Gary. What's your fucking point?
Let's see what else I got written down here.
That's a good idea. Jesus. This is what I'm talking about with confirmation bias. It doesn't matter what the logical science says. You're still going to hang on to the same ridiculous idea. You've asked me the same question 4 or 5 times in the last 5 minutes, and I've given you the same answer every single time. You are not capable of hearing it, Gary.
No, you just aren't aware of where I'm going with it. I heard...
Maybe it's because I've had this argument 100,000 fucking times.
100 times.
Of course I know where you're going.
I got your answer, though. The answer I was looking for. But
it's tough when the facts and logic destroy the vegetative nonsense as it does every single time, isn't it?
Whatever. Because, yeah, so.
Oh boy, it's like talking to a brick wall. It really is. But at least this is respectful and in good humor, which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Unlike your fucktard supporters who want to make disgraceful, inflammatory comments against me. You know, grow up, people.
So, on that note, just a minute. How was Dr. Ricky rude to you?
Have you watched my video that explains exactly that?
I may not have seen it all.
Well, go and watch it all, Gary, and then you will understand why I was pissed off. I explained fully exactly what I was thinking and feeling throughout. It's an 1.5-hour video or something. If you want the information, go and watch the goddamn video where I explain it. Very, very clear to me. It's based on my opinion. It's my interpretation of what occurred.
Yeah.
And that will explain to you why I thought he was rude and arrogant.
Okay.
And that was before I even found out that he doesn't fucking exist. And that it was a fabrication from the ground up.
Yeah.
So, you know, not to be determined, actually.
Not yet brought to a court of law.
Not yet brought to a court of law, absolutely. Yet. Not yet brought to a court of law, Gary.
That's right. Just like all the lawsuits going on in the vegan circles that you probably haven't heard of. Yeah. Harley.
Okay, so do we have any more topics left, or have we covered everything?
Yeah, I was just referring to Harley and Cheetah, but we don't have time for that.
No, we don't. I don't give a fuck about that. So
I just wanted to show you something that you've probably seen before.
Okie dokie.
There we go.
Yep. I've seen that 1,000 times, Gary. Of course I have. So if you've had this argument 100,000 times, why don't you tell me what I'm going to say to that?
Yep, I will tell you.
Okay, what am I going to say?
You will say that, let's see, the size of the mouth, the fangs, the scissors, the jaw, swallowing without chewing, and acid saliva, acidic urine, and all this other stuff on this chart here are not relevant, not as relevant as your chart.
My chart? What chart's that, Gary?
Well, the chart that debunks this chart.
Is there a chart that debunks that chart?
Well, no, it kind of it just shows different criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess, what I would say about that chart that you've shown there is that it makes a bunch of inferences based on a bunch of different categorizations of the gross morphology, the shapes, the structures, things like the saliva and the urine and stuff. They're a bunch of observations. None of them are proof of anything whatsoever, actually. They are a bunch of observations. A lot of people have, over the years said, if we're carnivores, why don't we have big canine teeth and claws? To which the obvious answer is there is no selection pressure on our genes to produce those body structures any longer, because we have a brain and two opposable thumbs and the ability to communicate with one another. So that obfuscates the need for big canine teeth, incisors, claws, and any of that sort of stuff. We're pretty good at making sharp, pointy sticks. We're pretty good at making projectile weapons that can fire hunks of lead at, thousands of miles an hour. It's fine. We don't need claws and teeth. The fact that we have the ability to metabolize some carbohydrate is a testament to our adaptability. It's a testament to the survivability of human beings. It's why we're at the top of the food chain, Gary, because we do have that ability in emergency situations to live for a period of time on purely carbohydrate sources. However, that's not nutritionally complete, and that will lead us to health concerns in the immediate, medium, or long term, as the case may be, depending on the particular genes of the individual concerned. That's what I've been saying all along. That's what I'll continue to say until I'm proven wrong.
Okay, so I just lost. I'll show this one more time. The pictures on the top there.
What are we looking at specifically, Gary?
That is carnivore.
Right.
You're saying we should eat like they do because, well, never mind why, but
well, I'm saying it, Gary, because the anecdotal evidence suggests to me that if you do eat a carnivore diet, that reduces your systemic inflammation, which is a very, very good thing, and it's nutritionally complete. There are also no established health risks involved in eating a carnivore diet exclusively. So why wouldn't you? If you want to base the whole system of dietary advice on the shape of someone's teeth, good luck to you.
But the teeth represent, the teeth are like a microcosm of the whole body.
The teeth are one factor.
Here's the fruit.
There's a bunch of other factors underneath that in terms of the pH of the urine and the pH of the saliva and the ability to produce the amylase enzyme and whatever else. These are things that are all well known to us, Gary. We've seen this chart 100,000 times, I'm sure. None of it.
Not everybody.
Evidence. Well, if they haven't, where the hell have they been? This is the stuff that you vegetarians will bring up left, right, and center every time one of these discussions comes up. None of it is evidence that we should eat one way or the other. It's a bunch of observations, none of which are relevant to anything, because you cannot compare apples with pears with oranges any more than you can compare humans with monkeys with fruit flies. They are not the same species. We have different needs. from monkeys. We have different needs from fruit flies. We have a different required diet.
But if you fed apples and oranges to this animal here,
Yes.
it
It
would
will
not
die.
do very well at
No, it would
all.
not. No, it would not. It would die.
Yeah.
But we are not that animal. We are more robust than that animal in terms of our ability to adjust to different forms of diet. That's why we have colonized every continent on this planet just about. That's why we have been so successful, because we can survive. We can subsist on diets which are not ideal for us.
That's right. We have, but not perfectly. But maybe
And the worst possible diet, the worst one that we can subsist on, is the standard American diet. That's a fucking killer.
But maybe one day, given long enough time, humans will adapt to this standard fast food diet. But they shouldn't.
Perhaps. No, they shouldn't. Of course they shouldn't.
They shouldn't do that. They should go back.
Correct.
Look back in history.
Yes, to a fully carnivorous diet. Absolutely. I agree with you. They should.
Well, you're not going back far enough for me.
Well, that takes us back to an animal that's far more different to the more recent animal, isn't it? So that's a bad idea. In the same way that we're not monkeys and fruit flies, we are not our ancestors of 1 million years ago. We are our ancestors of 200, 300, 400,000 years ago. What happened around about then? Oh, an ice age. Which genes survived in the human gene pool? Oh, those ones that were adapted for carnivory, Gary. That's what happened.
And the ones adapted for frugivore diets did not survive?
Correct. Although the gene for salivary amylase, which shows that there is an ability to metabolize some carbohydrate, remained in some of our ancestors. They didn't all die out.
Mm-hmm. I heard someone, I think it's Frank,
Yep.
probably him,
Probably.
who said, someone's talked about their ancestors come from Northern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why the carnivore diet works pretty well for them.
Yeah, there are some people doing genetic studies at the moment that are categorizing groups of humans as per their midterm, I suppose, genetic pooling in terms of where in the world they came from, most recently, say in the last 20 to 50,000 years or so. There are some problems with that science. There are some problems with the genetic analysis itself in terms of its accuracy. But nonetheless, people are getting some pretty good ideas about where their genetic stock was from most recently in terms of geological time, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Obviously, those people that come from closer to the equator have genetically a better predisposition for the metabolism of a larger relative amount of carbohydrate than those that come from closer to the poles. There's no surprise there. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
I was going to say, it makes sense. But my genes come from up north.
Okay.
Part Swedish.
Okay.
English.
Mm-hmm.
And when I eat high fruit diet, it works very well. As a matter of fact, if I extend that, when I eat nothing but fruit, the results just get better and better. It just, everything is just perfect.
Okay.
No digestive problems.
If that's your experience in your universe and your reality, and that's how you feel things are, then what I would say to you is, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. If you're happy doing that and you're happy to cop the consequences of that, be they positive or negative long term, then all power to you. I'm not here to tell you to eat a carnivorous diet. That's not what I'm about. What I'm here to do is say, if that's how you feel and that's your opinion, you're welcome to it, and all power to you. Scientifically, I think you'll find that you're in error, and at some point you're going to experience a very serious health problem as a direct result of that. That's just my opinion based on my very significant understanding of the science. Now, that might not apply to you in your case. N equals 1 is never a great way to base anything. I'm talking about the average situation around which there is a variability. And you've already shown that there is something in your genes, if indeed you have followed the diet that you say you have for 24 years, then you are already an outlier. You have lasted as long as you have. Most vegans do not.
Are you basing that on science, the studies, or of Google search results?
What specific science were you looking for?
That I am an outlier. I do not think I am.
Well, you are an outlier, because if you want to find me, something like 3.5 billion people, which is about half the population of the planet, who have been on a vegan diet for 24 years or more, I think you're going to struggle. In fact, I know you're not going to find that. So you are an outlier. Fact.
Having technical problems again.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Did you?
What I said was, you are not going to be able to supply me with a reasonable sample of human beings.
Are you frozen? let me repeat back to you and see if that's what you were saying. Are you saying you wouldn't be able to find much success with 3.5 billion people eating like me?
With the specific caveat that what I'm looking for is for you to supply me with the names, if you like, of 3.5 billion individuals who have followed a vegan diet. That's what I'm saying. So therefore, you are an outlier. You are not representative of the general population, even of vegans, who on average don't last 5 years.
They don't do it right either.
Oh, there we go again. That's because they don't do it right. Gary, that's absolute fucking nonsense. Don't give me that fucking bullshit.
They don't eat the way I eat.
They do it properly. A vegan diet is one that excludes all animal products. If that's what they're doing, they are eating.
You are now simplifying and refining down.
Oh, fuck.
The diet.
Are we just about done here, I think, Gary? Are we just about done here? Okay, because if you're going to come at me with vegans quit because they don't do it properly, we're finished. I've got nothing more to say to you if you're going to come up with that bullshit. That's nonsense. I'm not putting up with that.
Okay, where's... Okay, I won't say that. That's fine. But I want to point out that you were able to say that just look on the internet and you see so many vegans failing.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to say why they failed.
Because it's nutritionally incomplete. Fact.
But there's a lot more possibilities than that.
Well, you don't need to go past them though, Gary. If a diet is nutritionally incomplete, it is contraindicated for long-term health.
That's an if-then statement.
That's right. Well, it's not if, because the vegan diet is deficient. Fact.
That's circular logic.
It's not circular logic. It's plain old-fashioned logic.
You have a conclusion that you want to fulfill. You want to head to that direction. But there's more possibilities, and I've documented all those possibilities.
Okay. Gary, let me ask you this question. Is a vegan diet nutritionally complete?
See, the problem with that statement is I don't go by just the vegan diet. There's no the vegan diet.
Okay. Let me operationally define vegan diet for you. A vegan diet is a diet.
Specific.
That's what I'm going to do if you let me. Vegan diet is a diet that does not contain any animal products.
Okay, I can answer your question.
Okay, is the vegan diet nutritionally complete?
Yes.
Oh, Gary, don't talk nonsense. The science
there's more to it than
unequivocally says you are wrong in that respect.
There are some nutrients.
No question, the vegan diet is deficient. End of discussion. The only correct answer is fact. The fact is it is deficient. You cannot get away from that.
Let me say it differently. There are nutrients that the body needs that you don't get from plants.
Right. So the vegan diet is deficient.
That's not the same thing as
deficient. It is the same
thing. Well, there's more to life than just what you eat.
Okay, we're done here, Gary. Okay, we are done.
There's no oxygen. There's no oxygen in food. Is what I'm getting at. You need oxygen.
Oh my God, oxygen isn't food, Gary.
That's what I said.
Okay, Gary, we're done. Mate, I'm out of time. You're talking nonsense. You've had my attention for a good couple of hours. You've just gone off the crazy meter. Okay, we need to wind up here.
Yeah, we've been at it for a while.
Okay.
I agree. This is long enough debate.
And you've just gone off the crazy meter. Okay, so we're done here. I've had a lot of patience. Okay, I haven't sworn directly at you or shouted at you until just now when you've absolutely lost the fucking plot from logic. The fact of the matter is you cannot defend the vegan diet in terms of its nutritional completeness. The facts are on the table. It is deficient, full stop. It is contraindicated, full stop. You are an outlier.
Aspirations.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I'm one of the very few.
Roll the credits. Send me your shit. Keep making those vegan gains. I'm out of here. Okay, we're done, Barry. Seriously.
Thanks. It's pretty good.
All right. No worries. I have enjoyed our chat, and I do hope to chat to you again sometime when you can get it together, my friend, because really, seriously, you have to deal with the reality here, pal. You have to deal with reality at some point.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, the reality is the one thing we miss. Maybe we can talk about.
Let's do that. Let's do that in another discussion. Okay.
Right. Efficiency is what we talk about.
All right. Let's talk about deficiency next time we have a chat. All right.
All right.
All right. Thanks very much, Gary. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right.
Goodbye. Okay. We've just spent the last almost 2.5 hours with BART KAY there. I am Gary, the vegan carburetor here. And this was pretty satisfying. Been looking forward to this for a while. And I will be making some follow-up videos about this. And if you thought this was interesting, wait till you see my reviews of what just happened, Roy. You may have missed a lot of, you may have not understood what was going on. You may have not caught some things. And that's what I'll be bringing to you in the next few days. This will be interesting. I've been waiting for this. So subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell icon there and get ready. And let's see, not just who won the debate, but who won parts of it, right? He may have won a part or two, but I made some points in there and I was counting them Maybe no one noticed, but we'll check those out in future videos. Also, remember to give this video a thumbs up or down, however you rate it. So I'm going to look at some comments here. I don't want to spend too much more time here. So I'll just go through some of this, see what people are saying here. I know where B12 comes from. Livestock. Injected. Oh, we'll be talking about that. Someone should piece together 3 minutes of clips simulating Michelle versus Bart, ending with Bart raging. Someone predicted that, and I think that's what has happened. I was a little surprised by that. But that's Bart, and it, you know, the discussion went pretty well for the most part. That's what matters. Let's see. Gary, nice try, Gary. Thank you very much. Subscribe now. Stay tuned, because I'm going to try some more. Bart said some dumb things. Did he? We'll be looking into that. Let's see. Someone says that I looked stupid. Well, that's probably a rude way of putting that. I often didn't really know where to go with what he was saying. That's because he was being very scientific, and I acknowledge that I do not understand all that science lingo. And also, most people are not going to understand that. So I think he should have been more user-friendly. And that would have helped the debate a little bit. You did a like the result of this stream. Oh yeah. Make this print bigger here. Nice job, Gary. It was entertaining. Yeah. That's what I thought it would be. I think this was one of the more entertaining debates, because we didn't get stuck. See, there's no need to get stuck on things, although it may have seemed like it, but he didn't understand where I was going. Or did he not? Or did he know where I was going and didn't want to go there? We will look at that in the play-by-play. Take care of that liver spot. Oh, he didn't mention that he had a head injury just a day or two ago at work. Well, we have to take his word for it, don't we? I don't really care, Bart. I'd be glad to hear that. I don't care. Yeah, that was a weird part of the debate, where he says he doesn't care about a lot of things. Fruit flies, though. Annie is here. Fruit flies. Yeah, that was a jaw dropper. There's some interesting things in there. Bart got angry after he made that stupid comment about our bodies. Yeah. No, I don't know about that. He could have corrected himself. I got great laughs out of this video. There was a point where we were both laughing. That was great. I was wondering if the rest of the audience was laughing. It ain't a vegan party if they can't beat Tim, their favorite Pifiata. Oh. Someone says there wasn't any science. There was mostly at the beginning, I think. Or was there? See, we will look into that. Gary, you drink apple juice. Unsub. Not much. It was just something I could drink during the debate because I didn't get enough to eat today. So I thought I would need something. Someone said, thank you, Bart, for being kind to Gary. Yeah, mostly. I was wondering why. Why is he acting normal? And then I was surprised when he started to flip out. Maybe he needed some juice. He was drinking meat juice yesterday. Oh, I said meat juice in case you didn't catch that. I was thinking he said beet juice before. Yeah. Someone says, this is a troll saying, okay, Bart gone, time to focus on bashing Tim. Oh. I have a short video on Tim I want to do. But this is the priority. Too much to do, man. Oh, too much to say. Someone says, Michelle's turn to destroy you, Bart. Says the guy who believes in electromagnetic hypersensitivity of grounding. That was interesting. Notice I had no comment to that. Ex-vegans fail from stupidity. Yeah. The reason he decided to end the debate was a strange one. I want to think about that and look into why he got upset at that. I thought he would want to, there's so much to talk about in there. But he didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, I thought it went well overall. Bart is a clear narcissist. I didn't pick that up. For at least most of the debate. Calm down, Charlie Brown. Yep. That's one thing that didn't happen in this debate that I thought might. I thought that would happen. But not once did he call anybody Charlie Brown. Or did he call Vegan Games Charlie Brown? He didn't call me Charlie Brown. For showing vegan logic for what it is. Vegan Carboraider. Why supplement when you can drink sewer water and eat dirt? You don't even have to do that. No. You may not even need dirt that's found on plants. And that's just the science. You can look it up for yourself. This was a pretty good stream. Do it, Bart. Just rage quit like the others. It actually feels pretty good that I got the rage quit. That's, I guess that's the sign of a classic debate with Bart. Oh my God, Gary, walk away, mate. So do y'all still think I shouldn't have bothered with this? So many comments. We can do some of these later. I'll read these later. Need supplements. Oh, just for the record, the supplement discussion is really misused. And I think these people know better. Yeah, I mentioned the protein. When I said 40 grams to this person on the internet, they said, that's just, he said, far too low. For what? He said, your body's starving and it will struggle to survive. Well, the first thing that happens would be the body would steal protein from animals. Yeah. But that hasn't happened. Sure, I'm not muscular like all those gurus you see in the advertisements before YouTube videos. But I was never muscular. I haven't lost muscle. But we didn't even get to that. He didn't address that at all. He didn't say, so much to talk about. So meet me back here tomorrow. Maybe I'll just turn on the camera, do a live video. Yeah. Meet me back here tomorrow live. A little bit earlier than this video. And we'll have a nice chat about all this. This is so much to talk about. Okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your comments. And, subscribe, share around. Now that this debate's over, I'm just hoping that this debate will get out there to people, the right people. And it might not just happen by itself. You might need to be proactive and share this video all over the place, like on Vegan Gains channel. They'll be able to see the debate that they didn't see with Vegan Gains. Although this debate is different than that one would have been, I don't think his debate would have been that exciting. There would have been a lot more rage. It would have been like the other debate. Okay. Thanks for watching again. I'll meet you back here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. Eat some fruit. Or some poor man fruit, known as grains. Eat it with vegetables. Get a good night's sleep. And I'll meet you back here tomorrow.